So you're trying to figure out where in the hell is the job market headed right now. Maybe you're job hunting. Maybe you're wondering if your industry is going to get wiped out by AI. Or maybe, like a lot of people, you're just tired of the headlines making you feel like you're either a future millionaire or totally screwed. And while politicians are arguing about surplus months and tariff wins, 625,000 people quietly left the workforce last month. Participation stuck, layoffs are rising in surprising places, and wage growth, it's real, but not where you might think it is happening. Now, don't worry, this isn't one of those doom scroll in video form kind of breakdowns. I'll show you where the job creation is happening, which industries are recession proofing themselves, and how AI is actually helping careers explode and job seekers while gutting others. And yes, we're going to look at real data. Also, can we talk about how teens and entry level people have a 14.4% unemployment rate right now, while skilled trades in certain states have a 10% plus wage growth? This is quite some disparity and some interesting data. So in this video, I'm going to unpack the real unemployment rate versus the headlines, which job roles are safest and which ones are hanging by a thread, how AI is reshaping the workforce right now, not someday, and why consumer confidence is saying one thing while hiring data says another. So let me ask you, based on what you're seeing in your industry, your city, and your geographic location, do you feel more secure or more uncertain right now? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to get some discussions started. And if you haven't already, join my school community linked in the description for exclusive access to my tactics, strategies, AI prompts, and more for your career resilience, growth, and AI literacy. All right, let's break it down. So let's jump into the layoff landscape. So in Q2 2025, there were 247,256 layoffs. This is up 39% year over year and the highest in Q2 since the pandemic. Now, you might ask, why? What is happening? Honestly, it's still government-led for the overall year of 2025 for budget cuts, Doge cuts, things of that nature. So the majority of this is still happening on the governmental side. It's not to exclude the private sector, but if you are somebody who is transitioning from the federal government or public sector over to the private sector, this is where you're going to be impacted the most. And the biggest changes that you need to be prepared for in making this change are going to be a wildly different resume experience, a wildly different job application experience, and interview differences, to where it's going to be a lot more situational storytelling and impact oriented, much more than qualification oriented, like a lot of the federal employees that I work with are used to. So if you need some help with that, again, join the school community link down below. Check things out. I got lots of resources there for you. But hopping into the private sector, the retail industry is what's leading this, with a layoff percentage increase year over year of 255%. And this is honestly due to the e-com boom and cost cutting. So this would be the easiest transition of what I would tell you to do. Is if you're somebody who's been in the retail industry on that leadership side, technical side, admin side, like whatever it is, ignoring the job role. But if you are in the retail sector, then try to look at the e-com sector. That's going to be your easiest one-to-one relationship. It's still going to be different, but it's overall a very, similar 80% overlap. So a lot of your experience, transferable skills and things will be highlighted and highly valued over in the e-com space. Tech layoffs. So this is going to be tech sector, not necessarily tech roles. And so these were the second most leading layoffs in Q2. And this is going to come in the roles of project managers, designers, and HR and admin type roles. And this is honestly because of AI. And whether it's AI completely replacing you in these roles, or you are just behind the times and you need to learn to augment yourself, those are kind of the two big things that are happening right now. And so if you are in these roles, if you're in HR, if you're in project management, if you're in designers, or if you're in other kind of admin, office manager type of roles, learn to use AI to streamline your workflows, automate your processes, be a part of deploying it at the companies that you're at. I have definitely worked with a lot of HR professionals and project managers who are using it, whether that be for communications, whether it be for policy writing, project charter writing, things of that nature, a lot of different aspects in which you can leverage AI to save you time. So that's what I would say is, and while these roles are being laid off industry agnostic. It's the tech sector that's doing it first. So you're still going to be valued in other industries, but I would say it is imperative in these roles to definitely learn to augment yourself with AI, and honestly then use that time to level up your skills in something else, either a higher specialty or specific narrow of scope, which AI is not targeting within that role, or possibly making that to where you're using your free time to go into a transition or a different career path altogether. Now, the sectors with stability: healthcare, education at the state level, and leisure and hospitality. So healthcare is just continuing on a rising boom. They're at a all-time shortage. It's being exacerbated even more, regardless of your political beliefs, by RFK Jr. and the Trump administration. There's a lot of healthcare professionals that do not believe that they are going to do what's best for the healthcare industry. Again, whether you agree or don't agree, healthcare is a phenomenal industry to get into right now, and across all different types of roles. So whether you are clinical physician or non-clinical, admin, technical, again, project management, things of that nature, it's great. Education is moving from the federal level down to the state level. State level education hiring has been off the charts due to the federal level, effectively the Department of Education going by the wayside. And then leisure and hospitality is a very interesting one. And I think that this is because people are slowly feeling economic positives and they're having money again to spend on these industries. You know, it definitely took a dip, obviously, with COVID and the pandemic, came back a little bit and then dipped again. And I think that that industry is growing as the overall consumer marketplace is growing in there as well from the data that I'm seeing. And the most affected roles in general, when it comes to the layoffs, like I mentioned before, this is going to be an industry agnostic, is going to be UI UX designers, front end developers, recruiters, and content writers. What do all four of these things have in common? It's AI. AI is displacing these people like no end. For UI UX designers and front end developers, when you look at things like Lovable, Bolt, Replit, these are just AI applications that turn our natural language into front end development, into websites, into applications, etc. Recruiters, honestly, AI has been at the forefront of the recruiting process, taking things from resume evaluation all the way through hiring manager interview. That process is being done by AI in some companies. And if you think about it, it has better expertise than some recruiters simply because the AI can have technical knowledge of the actual position and really qualify people prior to the hiring manager stage. And content writers, honestly, this is just because people are using AI purely for content. I think the best content writers out there are using AI to augment themselves. And then on the stability side, the most stable roles are going to be nurses, cloud engineers, AI and data specialists, skilled trades, and public sector IT. Now, you might ask, what are skilled trades? Couple different examples here across some different skill sets. Think your electricians, plumbers, HVAC, machinist, sheet metal worker, auto technician, line worker, security and systems technician, etc. These are going to be your skilled trades. And again, what are almost all of these supporting? Cloud engineers, AI data specialists, and public sector IT. All three of these are supporting the AI digital transformation growth. Nurses, the primary shortage from the clinician standpoint in the healthcare system. And then when you're looking at the skilled trades, well, they're the least impacted by AI. But what's funny is I still know a lot of blue collar workers who are using AI in their daily workflows, whether it be for email management, client management, branching off into their own side hustle for their skilled trade, these sorts of things. So there's definitely lots of AI opportunity there, but they're just least impacted. Okay. So sum up the layoff landscape. It is increasing, but it is still federal government led. And when it comes to the private sector side of the equation, the retail side is the most common. Look to transition to the e-com space, assuming you want to stay in the relatively similar line of work. And the rest of this is going to be look at the healthcare industry, look at state education. If you were previously in the federal government in that education space, look to go to your state's education system. And everyone else, what's the theme? AI, digital transformation. If you need help learning AI, join my school community link down below. Again, I have lots of prompt engineering, lots of AI literacy training, and I got something special coming up here in the future around AI literacy specifically for people. So if you want to join my newsletter as well, which is linked down below, you'll be the first to know about that. All right, job creation. So let's go the other side. So roughly about 450,000 jobs were created in Q2. This is a little bit slower than last year in terms of the 150,000 average. You just take your 450 divided by 3. Last year was about 177,000. So a little bit less, but nonetheless, still jobs added. And this did exceed the forecast for every month in Q2. Definitely coming out of Q1, while there was some decent knowledge or decent job creation there, it was very, very minute when you look at net job creation because there was a significant federal government layoff and almost just a barely more on the private sector. This was a lot higher and a lot better coming out of Q1. Again, kind of piggybacking off of that layoff, I mentioned healthcare is the most stable industry, right? We're looking at over Q2, we had 51,000 jobs created in April, 62 in May, and 39 in June. So if we do some rough mental math there, we're looking at roughly 113, 143, 152,000 jobs created out of the 450. So 30% in healthcare alone. Public education, I mentioned this. If you were at the federal level, look to your state and local systems. 60,000 jobs were created. So this is going to be roughly that 12 to 15% of jobs created this past quarter were at this level. And that's because the federal Department of Education is being dissolved and that authority is being pushed to the state and local systems. So if you're passionate and dead set on that being your career path, look to your local government, not the federal government. Leisure and hospitality had 48,000 jobs in May alone, right? So again, they were a huge chunk of this. Now, what about flat or declining job creation? Surprisingly, manufacturing. These people or this industry had a loss after expected gains due to a lot of the tariff deals, as well as the improved investment. So this is something that right now, it was barely negative at only about an 8,000 job loss over the entire quarter. So this is something to watch and keep your eye on within Q3 and Q4 is to see, is this temporary because the tariffs are newly implemented and the overall investment that has come out of this with the billions of dollars and lots of company deals across, Louisiana, Ohio, Indiana, Texas, things of that nature that they just haven't come to fruition yet. So this is one to keep your eye on. If you're in the manufacturing industry, what I would tell you is to possibly look at other industries. Where can your skills go? If you were maybe frontline tactical assembly, can you maybe look to go to automotive, or can you look to go into other device creation? So think medical devices in the healthcare space, things of that nature. So think about industries that have tangible objects that require assembly and putting together, and look to maybe move to that industry instead. Like I said, automotive and healthcare would be two that I would immediately point to. Retail, we already covered, so I'm not going to beat that dead horse. Look to transition to e-com, but they were a loss as well. And construction stayed the same. I'm going to revisit kind of construction and blue collar a little bit later in the video to talk about some geographic advantages depending on where you are at. So stay tuned on that one. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. And then, like I said, for overall government hiring, this is actually happening at the state and local level, not just in the education space. But there was a slight late to come back and rise at the state and local level. And I think this is because of the overall shift of power from the federal government slowly happening to the state level for things like DOGE cuts and around the Department of Education. All right. Now, what a lot of people feel like is just gaslighting the hell out of them. Unemployment. So I like to cover this from two different aspects. For those of you that aren't familiar, there are two unemployment definitions that people commonly use. The ones that the government always likes to tout is the least accurate one. So this is why you feel so gaslit. So the official unemployment rate, also called the U3 unemployment rate, is 4.1%. This is what we've heard. This is, not historical low, but very low. So why are people, bitching about not having a job? It's the same as Q1. Let's get that out of the way first. So literally no change over the last 90 days. Now, you could view this in both ways. It's bad because it stayed the same. You want to see metrics improve over time. Now, there's obviously always going to be a level of unemployment that's reasonable. So I don't think you'd ever reach zero, but you still want to see some improvement, right? Now, the good side of this is I think from what I saw and heard, most people anticipated unemployment getting worse. And so this is something that I think is the overall positive takeaway from this is while it might feel like things are getting worse, that there's less jobs and there's less opportunity, it's literally the same. So get your feelings out of the equation and focus on the fact that actually it's the exact same it has been for the last 6 months in general are identical. Okay, so what is the U3 unemployment rate? What does this mean? So this is going to be the percentage of the labor workforce that is jobless, available to work, and actively looking for employment in the past 4 weeks. So in order to be counted in this, you must not have a job, you must be available to work, and you must have actively seeking or search for a job in the last 4 weeks, meaning you're applying, interviewing, etc. So people who are not included, and this is what makes this an inaccurate metric overall, are going to be discouraged workers. So people who are just like, screw it, I'm out, I'm done. They're not counted. Underemployed workers, so people who are part-time but want full-time, don't count towards this metric. And then retirees, students, and stay-at-home parents. And so this is why the federal government uses this statistic, is because it's a very narrow band of unemployment. Again, if you haven't applied for a job in 4 weeks, then that means you're out of the labor market. So something that's very interesting, right, is let's say you were laid off. Let's say you got a severance package. 4 weeks is a month, right? And a lot of companies are going to give some sort of package that equals a month or greater, depending on what your role was within the organization. So let's just say you don't look for a month. You're not counted in this statistic, but you are technically unemployed. So there's a significant amount of loopholes in what the federal government tells you. So whenever you hear the unemployment statistic, ask, is it the U3 rate or the U6 rate? So the U6 rate is what is commonly called real unemployment, if you were to Google this, as it includes a lot more of a overall population. So good news on this front. In Q1, the U6 unemployment rate was 8.1%. It is now 7.7%. So that's actually a good thing. So while the U3 unemployment rate stayed the same, the U6, which captures more people, went down. So this is good. This is broadly considered to be the most inclusive metric. And so the key differences to understand are that it is the total unemployed U3. So off the bat, it will always be higher than the U3 unemployment rate because everybody in U3 is automatically included in U6. But it also includes what they call marginally attached workers. And these are people that are not currently looking, but want a job and looked in the past 12 months. So it takes that 4-week time frame, relatively a month if you just want to round up a little bit, to 12xing that time frame, right? So this is going to count the people who are laid off, maybe got a severance package, whatever it might be, and we're like, you know what? I'm just going to take a little bit. I'm going to kick it with my family. I'm going to recover after burnout, whatever it might be. These people are now included. Discouraged workers, so people who gave up and are just like, screw it, I'm out. I can't find a job. There doesn't seem to be anything available. I'm done with this. They are included in this. And involuntary part-timers. So these are people who work part-time because they can't seem to find full-time work. So this is a significantly larger part of the population. And so when you see that we go from 8.1% to 7.7 while including these people, so instead of 4 weeks, 12 months for people that are searching. Discouraged workers not included in U3, discouraged workers in U6. And then involuntary part-timers not included in U3, included in U6. So I actually expected this to kind of go higher. I expected people to drop out of the workforce even more. But actually what's crazy is workforce participation stayed the same at 62.3%. So with workforce participation staying the same, real unemployment going down, this actually means that people are beginning to find jobs. Does this mean that it's this grandiose number, right? We're talking a 0.4%, decrease. No. Um, but it is something that is happening. Now, what's interesting in this metric as well is while the overall real unemployment is going down, we do have long-term unemployment increasing. So these are people who are over 7 months of unemployed, about 6 to 6.5 months, so about 27 weeks. So this is up. In January of this year, it was 1.44 million. We are now at 1.6 million. So it's I think the decrease was really a much more recent part of Q2. So we have a level of recency bias that we need to acknowledge here. That June was a very positive month for the job market overall. So I think it's one of those things where I would expect and hope that the trend continues to where into Q3, we see that long-term unemployment go down again, at least to January levels or lower, and we continue to see the U6 decrease. So again, I mentioned it's not this grandiose difference in going from 8.1% down to like 6%, that we have 25% cuts of the real unemployment. We have, a couple percentage points. That was mostly due to the latter part of the quarter. So we need to see if that continues. And something that's super, super interesting is going to be the overall teen unemployment rate and recent graduate unemployment rate. This is going to be at 14.4% right now, which is up from 13.4% in Q1. And this is honestly, from all the data that I can find, entirely due to a mixture of AI and robotics, actually. A lot of entry-level workers, whether they're teens, again, or coming out of college, will get into retail, fast food, or call centers, things of that nature, to just kind of get things started, get a paycheck while they're looking for something that maybe aligns with their degree better or is a better long-term fit. And while you look at the call center side being noticeably impacted by AI, since it now has voice capabilities, you look at fast food and retail, and that's going to be a mixture of AI and robotics side of the equation. So what I advise teens in high school and people currently in college to do is learn AI skills now, ASAP. Build an online portfolio, begin to do content creation, vibe coding, app and website creation to increase your value, increase your skills, and possibly even start to get your name out there for solving a problem that others are not doing. Use AI to your advantage. It can take you from being an unskilled worker, new in the workforce or newly graduated, to being the equivalent of a mid-career professional if you use it strategically correct. Again, if you want some insights on how to do that, join my school community, which is linked below. But like I said, begin to build a publicly facing portfolio of content in your degree space, content in just maybe something not related to your degree or that, in your high school, but a problem you want to solve. Vibe code some apps and websites. Like, think about vibe coding an app and website creation like the old school lemonade stand. That was the way that you learned about money and entrepreneurship when you were a kid, or maybe being in a family business, and instead just rapidly iterate ideas like, oh, can I solve this problem? Can I make an app for this? Or can I make a website that people are attracted to? And just keep that going, because overall AI is coming for those entry-level jobs more and more and more and more. Or I would highly, highly, highly tell you, like I mentioned earlier, and this is going to lead into the wage growth trends we're going to talk about next, go into blue collar. Learn a skilled trade. A degree is not the only way. I will be fully transparent. As someone who's been a white collar worker 95% of my career, I am fully prepared for the fact that AI will make me obsolete at some point before I retire. So I have two options. One option, I stay ahead of that obsolescence to the point that I can retire prior to that mattering. That's option one. And option two is I'm going to blue collar. I mentioned 95% of the time I have been a white collar worker. I did have a stint in my life and my career where I was a security systems technician and installer. I absolutely do not mind blue collar work. I love blue collar work. It should be highly and more respected. And especially because, let's jump into wage growth, It is experiencing the highest wage growth of all jobs, period. End of story. No questions asked. So before we get into the specific skilled trade scenario, the national wage growth is exceeding inflation. It's at roughly 3.7% year over year, where inflation is approximately 3% or a little bit less, depending on where you source it from. But either way, it's winning. Now, we still have a crap ton of distance to go. Over the last few years, we've had inflation that cumulatively is anywhere from, depending on your source, 14% to 20%. So while we're looking at 0.7 right now, not that big of a dent, but hopefully this stacks over time. That's the intent. And the main reason why it's only 0.7 is because of tariffs. So here's the thing to remember about tariffs, which again, we'll cover a little here in a little bit, is it's a consumption tax. If you don't consume, then you don't feel the tariff and you don't feel the tax. Remember that. Okay. But 3.7% year over year versus 3% inflation. Number one is going to be skilled trades. Are double-digit wage growth percentages on their own. Electricians, carpenters, masons, heavy equipment operators, CDL drivers, plumbers, pipe fitters, steam fitters, HVAC, you name it, across the board. And that is because there is a shortage and it is growing, especially if you live in one of these locations. And if you don't, move to it. Nevada, Mississippi, Alaska, Colorado, Texas, Florida, South Carolina, Montana. I'm sorry, but you have every climate and lifestyle that you would want in these options. You want mountainous, you got Nevada, Montana, Colorado. You want southern, warm, humid all the time. Texas, Florida, South Carolina, Mississippi. You want the extremes of everything. You want super cold winters and really hot days, right? You got Alaska, Colorado, Montana, Nevada, right? You want mountains. You don't want mountains. These states right here, if you are a blue collar worker, if you have the ability to move. That's if you need to. If you don't, like most states in general, are in a shortage scenario from a skilled labor workforce perspective. So you're probably fine where you're at, full transparency. But if you're looking for that higher wage increase, these are your moneymaker states. So if you are young, coming out of high school, coming out of college, you're open to skilled trades, go now. Make that change. Do it while you're young and you have no responsibilities was the best advice I got when I was young from both my mom and my dad. Before I had kids, before I was married, before any of that, go figure out where you want to live. That's the time to do it. Go into skilled labor. It is high in demand everywhere, highest wage growth national average, and it is a career for life that also leads very well into entrepreneurship. Okay, so now let's talk about some other ones. Hospitality. We mentioned the industry is growing. Not only is the industry growing, but the wages are going up. They are second place on average with a 4.8% wage increase in that industry. Like I said, I think it's because a lot of people are spending again. They're going on vacations. They're doing staycations, whatever it might be. So if you have skills that can translate to the hospitality industry, or you've been in hospitality and you're just feeling like it's not worth it, it's just now becoming worth it again. All right. So the question is, will it continue? Don't know. But look at roles in that industry. Healthcare is kind of right there with hospitality on an average, anywhere from 4% to 6%. So it has a little bit higher of a ceiling in hospitality with that 6%. But again, growing positions, both clinical and non-clinical, and, tied for that second highest wage growth percentage. So do not skimp on the healthcare industry. Next one. Here's what's funny. Manufacturing, third place. While manufacturing is experiencing job loss, it's also causing wage increase. And this is because a lot of it is due to AI, robotics, and overall transformation of that industry. And so if you are somebody who has the skills and has the acumen to stay in that industry because you are versed in AI, you are versed in technicianship and robotics and engineering and things of that nature, you will get that wage increase because there's now less workers and you are being more productive. Absolutely a great industry to be in if you can withstand the amount of fluctuation that's going on in it right now. And this is one that technically has the highest. It beats skilled trades, but it's very, very niche. Airline pilots? Anyone guess that one? Bueller, right? 12 to 20% increase via union contracts. So obviously, very, very niche position, highly specific position, not necessarily an industry or sector, but wanted to call that one out. Now, top roles that are experiencing wage growth. So aside from those overall business sectors we just talked about, if you are in the AI machine learning space, you are up 25% at a skill premium right now. IT and technology, cybersecurity. On the medical side, surgeons and dentists, financial advisors, and skincare specialists and trades. So we already talked about trades. Let's put that one aside. But if you are somebody, again, who's in that teen workforce, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, look at AI machine learning, look at cybersecurity, look at going down the surgeon and dental route or other healthcare roles, look at going into financial roles, financial advisement. Again, with the caveat for financial, absolutely learn AI skills because that is what's crucial in separating people from the pack right now. And I find funny skincare specialists. The thing that's interesting is I couldn't find if this is like the salon and spa side or if this is like dermatologists, so sort of an extension of the healthcare space. Not sure, being fully transparent there. I know I couldn't do it. Oh God, people's skincare is just nope. But more power to you if that's your jam. Now, I want to break this down into some of the skills that are most valuable right now. Learning AI, I'm meaning prompt engineering, automation, workflow, project creation, N8N, Replit, Bolt, Lovable, you name it. Data analysis, so data professionals, cloud engineers and cloud specialists, CDL, commercial drivers, leadership. So if you're somebody who has already been at that individual contributor stage, maybe feeling AI coming, try to get into that leadership realm. And I know this is going to be generic, but it was called out by employers and hiring managers as one of the most in-demand skills consistently, adaptability. And I know this is a buzzword, so I want to dive in a little bit here real quick and double click on it. I think nobody knows where we're going. As much as I'm giving you all this information and giving you my recommendations because I'm trying to prepare you to be the best professional in something that's long-term sustainable. The key to success right now is being okay with not knowing what's coming and being adaptable to, I need to go learn this AI skill. I need to go learn this technology. I need to go learn this tool. Or like I said, for me, I am fully prepared to uproot my entire career and go into the blue collar skill trade space. Be willing to do anything. Get your ego out of the way. There is no, well, I'm a master of this and I've been doing this for 15 years and that makes me, no, screw it. It's done. What you think you know, ignore it. Be adaptable, be forever curious, and a forever student. That is what's in demand right now. Okay? The way that the pay, if you notice what's happening here, skilled trades, AI, cybersecurity, financial advisement, data analysis, cloud engineering, right? People who are future ready are getting wage growth. People who are not, or roles that are not, are stagnant, flat, or being cut. Okay? That's what I want you to understand. Now, how do all of us get paid? We get paid by customers. Customers paying our company. So I always like to include a little segment in these about consumer sentiment. I'm not going to beat this dead horse super hard, but what I do want to point out is that we've overall had a decrease in consumer sentiment about the health of the economy across the year since January. January to May had a massive, massive consumer cut. I believe it was roughly 70% of people who were in the positive, and going into May, they were at 52.2. So, I mean, we're talking a 25%, 20 to 25% increase or decrease, in consumer sentiment. In June, we made back up 40% of that with an 8.5 point recovery. Again, I mentioned that while there's these Q2 averages, June was a lot of our positives and a lot of our hope. So this means that Q3 and Q4 are going to be the telling times that was June a one-off? Was it temporary, or is it going to be sustainable in people being hopeful, people seeing the light, jobs coming back, wages going up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Okay. So that was based off of the UMIC sentiment index. Another one I like to look at is just the Gallup polls, right? Gallup economic confidence. So this is one that it's very interesting way that they do it. So essentially they poll people and say, how many of you rate the economy excellent? How many of you rate the economy poor? And then they then say, how many of you rate the economy as improving? And how many of you equate the economy as worsening? The overall scale of sentiment is from plus 100 to negative 100. And so what they do is they make a bracketed equation. So they take the amount of people who say the economy is excellent minus the amount of people who think it's poor, plus the amount of plus, and then parentheses, the amount of people who think the economy is improving minus the amount of people who think the economy is worsening. So it's supposed to give you an idea of, again, if the best case scenario is you're looking at 100%, or plus 100 versus negative 100. Right now we're at negative 14. So we're slightly negative, very close to neutral, but recovering since Q1. Q1 was an average of negative 19. The negative 14 was in June. Again, June is our key. That's our outlier of Q2. And the question is, will we continue to see it in Q3? But more people spending money means more revenue for companies, means more job creation, means more innovation. So that's why I like to say this is we have a temporary uptick in consumer sentiment. And by temporary, I don't mean it's going to go down. I mean, there's a question mark as to its sustainability. On the same token of that, 57% of people expect unemployment to rise in the next 12 months. So again, this is that slightly above 50%, that slight negative statistic we're seeing across the board coming to fruition. But again, real unemployment's down. So we will have to just wait and see. And the primary concerns for this consumer sentiment driver being negative is inflation, tariffs, and the overall job market instability. But again, wage increases are outpacing inflation. Tariffs are causing a lot of investment here. So we need to kind of just wait for those investments to come to fruition. And the job market instability, we're kind of catching on this theme here. There are pockets that you can take advantage of to kill the game. I promise you. It's not that it's unstable. The job market is being narrowed in scope. We no longer have, 50 billion different roles that you can pick, right? You need to go to the geographical locations where things are growing and learn the skills and the roles of where things are growing. That is what will make the job market stable. Go where opportunity is. It has never been easier. We have never been more mobile. Skill development has never been easier. And all of this is for the lowest cost it ever has been. Be willing to be adaptable. And again, get your ego out of the way. If you want to learn career transition frameworks, if you want to learn how to use AI to help you do all of this cheaply, quick, etc., join my school community link down below. I have resources for everybody available for free. Again, whether you're transitioning careers, relocating, need to spruce up your application, does not matter. All right, we got a couple more sections. I know this video is going long, so I hope this is entertaining and I hope you're sticking with me. All right, so how is AI overall impacting the job market and jobs? So AI caused roughly about 20,000 job cuts. 20,000. Okay, so remember the numbers we were talking about earlier are 400,000 job creation, 288,000 layoffs, right? 20,000 were cut due to AI and automation. Is it impacting things? Yes. But it's 10% or less. It's less than 10% of overall job cut and impact. It's creating more opportunity right now than it's destroying. Okay? Because jobs eliminated, admins, data entry, customer service reps, entry-level developers, designers, positions that are entry-level, low wage, low value. And I don't mean low value to diminish you as a human being. I mean low value in terms of revenue generating. The cost to revenue creation just isn't there. But it's creating jobs such as prompt engineers, data scientists, AI operation leadership, machine learning engineers, cybersecurity, etc. Creation is outweighing elimination by far. Okay? Something else to note, job listings that have AI skills as a requirement come at a 25% higher salary premium. 25%. That means average salary, depending on your source in the US, we'll pick the median as 70 because I see anywhere from about 60 to 80. Instead of making $70,000 in your job, if you can add in AI skills and actually make them useful, profitable, and making a difference and an impact, that means that you're going to go from 70,000 to about 87 to 88,000. Is that math right? Because 20% would put you at 84 plus 35, 87.5. You heard that. Now, take this to higher level paying. If you're at a $100,000 job, you're now a $125,000 job. If you're at $150,000, then you are now going to be at, what would that be? 180, 187.5, right? Massive gains. What's our theme? Learn AI, learn to prompt, learn to interact, learn to build reoccurring workflows that are repeatable and streamlined. AI is not just a tech story. It's literally transforming every industry's workforce strategy. Upskill or be replaced. I don't mean that to be cold-hearted. I don't mean that to be negative, okay? It is just a fact of the matter. If you put your head in the sand, you will be the ostrich that gets eaten. Be willing to upskill. Be willing to move. Be willing to be adaptable. Be willing to learn. Be willing to scratch all of the investment you've made into your career in order to do something different, new, and exciting. Okay. Tariff and trade turbulence. So this is something that's interesting, right? So we had new tariffs in April with the 10% blanket tariff. In May with the 25% on auto and auto parts, mostly impacting Canada, EU, Mexico, Japan. Manufacturing has really kind of been at a standstill because, again, revenue is down. So job creation is down, but there's a lot of investments coming into manufacturing, just waiting to see it being done. Agriculture is anxious because there's the whole ICE deportation scenario. Retail and logistics are slowing down because it's converting to e-com. So tariffs are one that honestly I really think is at a break even right now. That it's just something to be mindful of, that I think we need to wait and see how these things play out. I think the promised investments are just going to take time. I know that a lot of you don't feel like you have time, but that is why you need to jump on opportunity today, right? Take whatever salary it is that you were earning, right? Okay. So again, let's use that average 70,000, right? And we'll divide that by 52 weeks in a year, right? So you were earning $1,300 a week. Okay. $1,350 before taxes. That is what you are losing by not being employed, by not learning a skill, by not hiring a coach, by not networking with people, whatever it might be. I'm not trying to just sell you on me as a career coach. There are plenty of people out there. It needs to be a personal fit, but I cannot tell you to pounce fast enough. Every week you are unemployed is $1,350 at $70,000 a year, which means if you're at 140, it's $2,700 a year. It just stacks the higher your salary is. Okay. So screw the tariffs, screw the external stuff, because at the end of the day, it hasn't had a huge impact. It's really been at a break-even standpoint, and even then, only for certain industries. Okay? I do want to point out that June was the first surplus federal government month outside of tax season since the Clinton administration. I didn't want to call this out, like I said, in the kind of the kicking things off. This is something that the government is touting. It was mostly due to tariff revenue, which means that people bought things that were tariffed, and ultimately the federal government made more money. Now, this is good from a, taking a chisel to, Mount Everest size debt, right? I mean, that's pretty much the amount of impact it was. But remember, like, while people are kind of bitching about the tariffs, remember, you don't feel the tariffs if you don't buy something that is tariffed. Crazy concept. Let's take it a step further. You don't feel the tariffs if you don't buy. Period. Audit yourself. Audit your outgoing expenses and look at, what can I cut? Okay? There's two ways to financial freedom in retirement. One, make more money. Two, spend less. Tariffs are the incentive to spend less. For any of you bitching about the tariffs, just spend less. then you don't feel the tariffs. Change where you're buying. You don't even have to spend less. Spend different. Then you don't feel it. Kind of crazy, I know. But if there's any like additional incentive to just not consume as much shit as you do, tariffs are it. At the same time, refer to my previous statistics and stuff about how you can make more money and where the wage growth is happening. Make more money, spend less. All right. Let's wrap it up. Q3, Q4, 2025 forecast and advice. So I'm going to give you what people are predicting, and then I'm going to give you my 2 cents. So I'll give you both sides. So both the data-driven side or assumed data-driven side and kind of what I think. And based off of the trends that I'm seeing and what's happening. So what people are predicting. Job growth is expected to slow further. So I mentioned before it was at 177,000 last year. It now is at 150. People are expecting it to slow down to about 130 to 100,000 a month. People are expecting unemployment, the U3 rate, to go up 4.3 to 4.5%. AI disruptions will continue to escalate, and more roles and shifts in people will disappear. People won't disappear. This isn't Epstein Island over here. It'll be roles that are disappearing. And the key growth sectors are going to be AI infrastructure, green energy, healthcare, and public infrastructure. Risky sectors are going to be traditional manufacturing, and I'm sorry, but entry-level, basic, white collar. Okay? So what I think is going to happen is I think, sadly, these statistics will be true, but not because they're inevitably true. I think that the job growth slowing, I actually don't think that's going to be the case. I think that it's going to continue to grow as time allows those investments to happen. I think it's going to actually kind of break even, maybe start to increase towards the end of the year. But I think that 150,000 a month average or so is probably what's going to sustain through the end of the year as things ebb and flow. I think the unemployment is going to increase. But again, this is the one that I wanted to really follow up on by saying, I think it will increase not because of a lack of opportunity, but because of people being too stubborn and too egotistical to take advantage of the opportunities being created. Like I said, Q2, we had over 400,000 jobs created with 200,000 lost. Net 200,000 jobs. Yet unemployment stayed the same. Yes, U6 went down, but I don't think that that's the 200,000 jobs. So, yeah, I think people are just going to stick in their ways. They're going to put their head in the sand, and they're going to screw themselves. And then they're going to bitch about not having a paycheck, and they're going to bitch about the cost of living, and they're going to bitch about the tariffs. If that's who you are, my content, my channel, this whole video, probably not for you, because you're a doomer and a gloomer, and nothing is going to make you happy, and and you're not going to do anything to make it better. But if you want to take advantage of what I'm saying, to where more opportunities being created than lost, more jobs are being created than lost, and you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, I've mentioned it multiple times in this video. Check out my school community below. It's completely free. I got AI literacy, AI prompt writing, how to change your careers, mindset coaching, performance coaching, etc. Weekly free webinars where you get access to me. It's a small community growing slowly. So help me grow it, refer people in. It's completely free to join. Okay. It'll help you build a hybrid tech stack of tech and AI and your domain expertise and communication. It'll allow you to grow your network, build proof of concepts, get feedback on things, meet with people in your industry, etc. At the same time, sign up for my monthly newsletter to get access and summaries of the tactics that people are most interested in every month that I release around job search strategy, career growth, and AI knowledge. All of this is free. My job is to help you achieve your dream. Whether you pay me or whether you don't pay me, either way is completely fine. I want to achieve my goal of helping you achieve your goal. That's all. Okay? So, what are you going to do? Click the link below, join the school community. Click the link below, sign up for the monthly newsletter. Take action, get your ego out of the way, and take advantage of the opportunity we have at hand, because the statistics are telling you that there's more opportunity being gained and created than there is lost. But above all else, be willing to be adaptable. If you want me to expand on anywhere, want to have a conversation about stuff, again, join the school community, leave a comment below. I respond to every single comment, check the track record on every video every time. Subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, all that good jazz, notification bell. And the future belongs to those who adapt. Make sure that is you. Thank you. I appreciate your time for sticking with me as a warrior all the way through this 50-minute video. You kick ass, you take names, and if you want 5 quick wins that you can do now, it's going to be up right here, and it's going to be because it was released earlier this week.